So some of you know Amber. Amber has been our creative for a few months now. And before that, you interned for us. We want to get to know you this evening. We want to know about your role. We can be praying for you. And we want to know a little bit about you. So question number one. Do think of questions. I got some questions lined up. But do think of some questions. Not your dad.
Yeah, I was going to say disclaimer, not my dad.
Because they won't be appropriate, will they? We're in a church, okay? This is consecrated land. Okay, so hopefully, that won't stop you, I know, but we'll try. I guess the first question I love to ask people, and it scares the socks off them, but it's this. It's, what does Jesus mean to you?
They asked me this question at my interview, and it was actually so stressful, but...
You should have the answer ready then.
Well, yeah, I guess. But I think, first off, classic, Jesus is my Lord and Saviour. But I think my second one that I think keeps me with Jesus every day is that Jesus is first my friend. And like the last week, I've been having some really good conversations with my friends, like in my car and like in like houses, and we've had some really like sweet and tender moments where it's been like some of us are having really horrible times, but it's nice to have that friendship. And that's kind of how I see Jesus. Jesus is the person that I go to when I need comfort, when I'm feeling lonely. He's that first person that I call on. And friends are great to have in person, but Jesus is that immediate thing of like, I'm going to come to you, I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling this, I'm getting a bit jaded, and it's that peace. And I think that's what keeps me coming back to Jesus, is he is my friend. And I value friendship, I value being intentional with people. So that's what Jesus is. He's my best friend.
Good answer. Did she get the job? There we go. Fabulous.
Thanks.
Question number 2. So tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us something that we don't know about you. We know you like Tim Thornton's.
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons?
Tim
Who's
Hortons.
Tim Thornton? Oh, well, I've dropped you in it now, haven't I, with your mum?
Yeah.
Tim Thornton.
Tim Thornton. Right, well, yeah.
What else do we not know about you?
A lot of people don't know I studied in Oxford to be a student nurse and then dropped out at the end of my second year to move here. That's a good one that nobody knows.
Yeah. Do people know that?
Some people know it. Yeah. I call myself half a nurse. It's my Twitter bio.
Okay. So if you need a first aider, make sure Amber's there.
Yeah. Well...
Just telling you now. Yeah. Keep paying.
What else do...
Do you have a different name or been in a TV show or anything like that?
I've got a cool career, actually.
Come on.
I've got 2. My parents call me Lou, and when I was growing up, everyone thought, because my middle name's Louise, and everyone thought it was the toilet. And my second one is I have been in a Christian drill music video, dressed up in gospel gowns and a crown.
Christian drill? What's that?
Like drill music, like heavy rap.
Okay.
I was in a music video. Yeah, I was in a music video dressed in white gospel outfits and a crown.
There we go. We won't be doing that here.
But
we'll find the link and we'll share it. Fab. So the 7 o'clock has always been the service for the missing generations, and it's something we want to not forget. Most churches are empty of people aged 18 to 35. That's the reality. It's a real shame. We do really well if you're below that age. And then if you get married, typically, and you move to an area, churches are good at engaging with you. What we're not very good at across the board is engaging people in that 18 to 35, 18 to 40. And that's why we want this role. And that's why we've gone out and found the money and found a funder to have you for the next year. What do you think are some of the things that you see that churches do badly that don't engage 18 to 35s?
I think I spoke about this on Thursday at Encounter. I think the term missing generation is very interesting because I think people use it they just say, Gen Z is like the missing generation without kind of understanding why we're the missing generation. Like a lot of the conversations I had, so I was a student nurse in COVID, so my life didn't really stop. But like a lot of the conversations I've had with people outside of that is that we are almost stuck in an adolescent stage. Like, we didn't have to grow up. We were inside for 3-4 years of our life. None of us were working. None of us, like, I lived with my parents for half of it, rent free. And like,
they want that back.
well,
Just
yeah,
so that,
yeah,
there's
it's
the
still
bill
going,
coming.
mate. So, yeah, and it's kind of like, why are we the missing generation? You know, I know some people that still can't get into jobs. I know people who are still suffering from mental health problems from the effect of COVID. I think kind of figuring that out, like it says, like Youthscape says 1% of uni students will attend church in their whole 3 years, which in Weston, me and Sam worked out the other day, is only 300, which for a town this size is crazy. So yeah, I think first step is finding out why we're the missing generation. Like, why don't people want to go to church? When I first became a Christian, so I started off in a Hillsong church, for those of you who don't know, but I first became a Christian, and I was like, I'm absolutely not, like, it gave me Sunday school vibes. That's what I got from church. I was like, I'm not going to sit in a weird pewed place and do this. And I remember going into Hillsong for the first time and being like, whoa, Jesus can be cool, like he can be exciting. And it's kind of like, why don't people, is that the perception we have of church, and how can we change that? I think is the first step. I think the second one, in terms of the actual job role, is going out into the colleges and sixth forms. And there's a really good student movement called Fusion, if anyone knows. They kind of help facilitate uni groups and things like that. And just being relational and, again, intentional. Like, my testimony is I went to uni, I wasn't a Christian. The girl that lived next door to me was, and she was very intentional in a really tender way. She'd always knock on my door every day, every Sunday, and I'd been out on the Saturday night, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And Caitlin was planting seeds very, very slowly but very surely, and it came from real intentional, like, there was moments over dinner that we'd had conversations about God and, like, things in the Bible. It wasn't a very forceful thing, but she was and always is very relational and intentional with Jesus and who that is and how that can help, because I think it can be quite intimidating sometimes coming into the church.
You're absolutely right. I went to church because my foster dad was a vicar, and I went down after the custard creams to go and get them. But I then went on a church crawl, I called it, where I went to find another church that was for me, and a church that kind of felt like I'd meet my tribe. And I met Bethany at the church, my wife, and I decided that if she goes to this kind of church, I'm going to stay here. So God got me for the girl, but then got me into the church. Anyway, so we've got the college here. We've got 30,000 people plugged into our local college. 30,000 is the number. You know, that's part-time, that's masters, that's college, because our college here is a sixth form college. It does all sorts of stuff from building engines to offering degrees to, you know, it's a real asset. The Vice-Chancellor, if I can say that word, Vice-Chancellor, is a Christian and is very receptive, and we want to be best friends with her and get alongside her. So that's why we've got Amber. So Amber, the challenge for you is to find 1%. How about that? It sounds low, doesn't it? 300. Yeah. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Could you imagine? I was having this conversation with Sam the other day. 1% sounds very low. Could you imagine having 300 18 to 35-year-olds in this building, though? It would be packed.
Oh, engaged in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think it's important engaging with the 18 to 35s?
I think from first-hand experience, because I am 18 to 35. And I think, again, from my own testimony, my life before I went to Jesus was a very different one. I was very anxious-filled, did a lot of naughty things that I won't talk about because my parents are here.
They know about them.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, my life was completely different, and I think it's important just for people to experience the same freedom I have. I think that's where the passion comes from. But even moving to Weston, I've seen very small glimpses of what God can do and, like, God's transformational love. And I think it's important that we, as a church, simply just show them that love. I think we're not an unloved generation. I think we're a generation that finds it difficult to believe that we are loved because of social media, relationships, all of this. Yeah, just to experience freedom. That's the answer.
It's a great line, isn't it? We've not experienced love.
Mm.
Gosh, Great. Last question for me. So picture this. Jesus invites you for a day of fun activities. What's on the agenda? And what profound lessons do you think he would teach you during your time together?
Do you know, when you sent me this question earlier on, it really challenged me.
Great.
Because I was driving back from a friend's house, and
On
I
your
saw the
phone?
questions. No, I pulled over, obviously. And it was, I had the thought of like, surely my everyday should be a fun activity with Jesus
That
that
would
he
be
brings
good,
profound things to. Because I would do what I normally do. I've turned into a bit of a gym rat, if you don't know. And I am loving the gym at the minute. And I was like, I would probably do exactly what I'm doing right now. So what I do is I wake up in the morning, and this is a crazy thing for people who want a bit of mindfulness, but I wake up in the morning, I sit up, and I pretend Jesus is sat next to me on my bed, and I close my eyes. And Philippa Heather said something really great in a preach a few weeks ago, where she was like, pretend you're looking up on your, like you're looking up or down at your head and then to your shoulders, and kind of do a body scan of yourself. And then whatever you need to hear from Jesus that day, which for me is sometimes some crazy things, I tell myself that, and I pretend that Jesus is next to me saying it. I then now in the last 2 weeks, because that's who I am now, new year, new me, I wake up and go to the gym. I get up, I go to the gym, I go in the hot tub at the gym, I go in the sauna, then I normally come to work, pray, and just spend some time with God. And then like in the evenings, I get to just have, again, like really intentional time with my friends. Me and my friends all ended up leaving Oxford and working in churches at the same time, so we always love a bit of a cry together on the phone. But yeah, having just really intentional, and I'm a big fan of, there's a great guy on Instagram that talks about mundane moments and how there's a lot of time in Christianity you have what they call hilltop faith, where you're expecting these big massive things, when actually like you could just sit around like today I was with Clayton, we were just having a tea and like just having a real mundane conversation that was actually very powerful. And I think it's that. And I think the profound thing that God always shows me is that he loves me. Because when I first came here, I was very broken. I'd experienced some very odd things in my previous church. And I really struggled with identity and like that. And that's why I do the self-affirmations every day. But I struggled with my identity, struggled with God loving me. And I think that's the profound thing that God tells me every day, is that he loves me, because that in itself is crazy. Like I wake up and I'm like, I've got blood pumping around my body. I'm alive. It's crazy. And that's what I do.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So the sauna, you help people get into the gym, but you get into the sauna.
Yeah, no, I do a few
Do
squats.
some weights.
Yeah,
Okay.
might have a box. I love pickles. Might have a box of pickles with him.
In the sauna?
No, in my
This is
car.
getting weird, isn't it?
In my car, in a hidden spot that no one
You
can
wonder
see.
why you've got the sauna to yourself.
Yeah.
You're just in there with a jar of pickles. Gosh. You heard it here, St. Paul's. If she's in the sauna, don't go in.
Yeah, don't
Because
join
there
me.
will be pickles.
Yeah, yeah.
Fabulous. Are you happy to receive some questions from the
Yeah.
floor?
Yeah.
Would anyone like to ask any questions? Appropriate questions, please, only.
I don't think any church is better than any other church. I think we're God's kingdom, and I think churches serve, for me, Hillsong served its purpose. That sounds a really weird way, but Hillsong was my way into God. It was very beneficial in my the foundations. Yeah, you know, we're all God's children. We're all in God's kingdom. So I don't think churches can be better. I think they're different and they serve different purposes.
Absolutely. Yeah, different football teams.
Yeah.
Nicky Gumbel says,
Same house,
if you
different room.
find the perfect church, leave it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. I think, so my vision currently, I've only got a little bit of it, is essentially that Gen Z would be a John the Baptist generation, a JB generation is what I'm going for. And I think it would just be boldness and courageousness, because I think a lot of and this is just me, when I get tired and burnt out, I lose the boldness and I lose the courageousness, and that's kind of when I lose momentum. So I think boldness and courageousness, just an outpouring of God's grace and love, every day. I think it's really easy for us to kind of pass by life and not take, like I do it all the time, not take moments with God every day to just kind of sit and be like, it's actually going to be okay. It's going to be all right.
I think that's a really great question. I think my challenge back to you is to be praying in 3 months, because it's so easy when new people come for us to get excited by them.
Yeah.
The messages I got in my first year were great. The messages I now get in my second year are not as great as they were, shall we say. But we've got to keep praying, because leadership is tough. And those of you in leadership roles know it's tough. You get to see the whole pie, which other people don't. So prayer is the best thing. When people say to me and to team members, what can I do? Pray, 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 because that's what gets you 3, 6, 2, 5 years down the road. Over here.
For sure. And I think this is the thing with being intentional, is like for me, I didn't meet God necessarily in the church. It was in my uni bedroom, and it was outside in Oxford, and it was, and that was a lot of the stuff that I did when I was pastoring in Oxford, is, going for coffees, going for walks, things like that. It doesn't have to be in the building.
And that's what John did, didn't he? John the Baptist, he prepared the way, and he made sure the land was fertile and ready for Jesus to come along and do it.